Thanks for tuning back in, and I apologize for not having posted in over a week, but to be quite honestly, I just wasn't in the mood. I think I mentioned in a couple videos ago that I was getting sued for ADA compliance, the American Disabilities Act. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys what exactly was brought to the attention of the complaint, but very ticky-tack and minor. But just having to deal with this and just fixing all the little small things is basically the reason why I just really wasn't in the mood to hop in the Camaro or the Lambo and just go shoot videos. So this has pretty much been weighing on me a lot. So I mean, first time getting sued for anything, and I guess the purpose of this video is if I can help at least one small business owner out there to avoid a lawsuit like the ones I'm going through, I mean, I guess the purpose of this video is valid. So I'll go ahead and go through everything that my CASP Inspector, that's spelled C-A-S-P, and these are the guys that'll pretty much certify your place of business and the property to be ADA compliant. So every little thing they come out and measure. They bring out, obviously, levelers, they measure the ramps, and they go over everything from top to bottom just to make sure that your business is in compliance. So to any small business owner out there, this could be a sandwich shop, a coffee shop, obviously gas stations, restaurants are huge. It's really a nuisance, but I mean, I get it. I get why, the federal government and the lawmakers put this law in place to keep business owners honest, but obviously it's taken quite a big turn in that, people, and especially lawyers, they're the ones that really go out of their way to take advantage of the system because, obviously they need to make a living too. So it's not always like we see on TV and they're, dramatic trial attorneys that are making the big bucks, like the, high profile attorneys that we always see on TV. It's always like, I like to call them bottom feeders, but these litigation attorneys will basically just target small businesses. So a lot of the times they will have one plaintiff, a legitimate handicapped individual, and they'll basically just use their name and just go around driving around to different businesses trying to find maybe a sign missing, or something is just a little too high by a couple of inches and stuff like that. So I hope this video helps, and let me show you guys around. All right, so anytime you have a van accessible parking, per the code, you have to have a border of at least 8 feet. So in this case here, as you could see, this would meet the requirement right at 8 feet. But as you can see here, because of these pillars, it protrudes out about 4 inches, so we have to start from over here, which brings us to right here. So basically the inspector told me that all we have to do is just make this blue line about 4 inches wider, and then pretty much we'll be we'll be in compliance. But this isn't named on the actually this complaint wasn't brought up in the lawsuit, but this one is just per the inspector, so just to prevent us from anybody else coming out here with the tape measure trying to find any other ADA violations. The thing I forgot to mention was that you need a no parking, which needs to be visible as well. The lettering has to be at least 12 inches tall, and obviously we went ahead and did that. So this was also per the inspection. It wasn't brought up in the lawsuit at all. So right here, if we bring that blue line over, now we need at least 9 feet width for the parking space, meaning we will have to bring this line over, which what we're doing now is getting rid of this blue line here and bringing it over to 9 feet. And then we'll just go ahead and restripe this much, and pretty much that'll make us compliant. And another thing that I got hit for was not having a sign that stated minimum 250. I did have those 2 signs up, but not one stating that the minimum fine was 250. So I went ahead and ordered that. And as you can see here, I mean, if that's not in compliance, I don't know what is. So I mean, we're pretty much good with the van accessible the name and phone number of a tow company, and also this minimum 250. And another thing about having one of those tow signs is you need 2 of them conspicuously displayed on the property. So we have another one at the entrance near the driveway. So here we're good. I also went ahead and replaced this sign here. I'll go ahead and put a picture up of what was there before, but this was another one that was brought up from the inspector. So here we got the restroom, and basically the main thing that the supposed plaintiff brought up was that one of these insulated padding wasn't there. There was one there before, but like I said, if you have a small business, make sure you have an employer, or just do it yourself, inspect it daily just to make sure you have one of those. You can pick those up at Home Depot for about $40. The height of the sink, everything was fine. The soap dispenser was fine. So everything is okay. And this here, per the inspection, as you can see from the previous hole right there, you need at least 12 inches of space here. So a lot of times restaurants, what they'll have is a separate handicap stall, which won't even have this toilet paper dispenser here. But obviously, since this is a gas station, I only have one. I went ahead and moved that up 3 inches, and this was brought up per the inspector. Another thing that was brought up from the inspection was, as you can see, the toilet, which is fine with the grab bars, but if you see here from right in the middle, you could see we're at about 18.5 inches. So basically, per the law, the toilet has to be within 17 and 18 inches from that wall there. So basically what this means is that that toilet has to move over that way about 3/4 of an inch, or that wall has to come this way 3/4 of an inch. So we're working with the contractor right now to see what we're gonna do, because I do know with the piping here, you know, we're trying to avoid breaking tile and stuff like that. So we're trying to come up with a solution. So this toilet here is exactly at 18 inches or between 18 and 17 inches. But as you can see right now, we're at about 18.25 or close to about 18.5 inches. So this is another thing that the CASP Inspector brought to attention. So, I mean, he even told me himself that it kind of sounded ridiculous for him to tell me that this toilet was ½ an inch too far off the wall. But this is another big thing that if you guys have public restrooms at your business, to make sure that you guys are in compliance with this right here. And I forget the distance that this toilet paper dispenser has to be off the ground, but we were compliant with this here. So obviously there's toilet paper missing. We got to check this on a daily basis and just make sure that there's toilet paper there, because obviously the dispenser up there, it is handicap compliant where it's placed because it's over 12 inches, but this one's missing toilet paper. So based on this inspection that I'm doing right now, we'll go ahead and put toilet paper in there. But other than that, everything else looks good. But yeah, this was the main thing that the lawsuit brought up, because for obvious reasons is that if someone is in a wheelchair and they try to get close to turn on the water, and if this is hot, then, you know, obviously, you know, they could theoretically burn their legs. So we're good there. And that pretty much sums up the restroom. This was the main thing that a lot of people, when they file these lawsuits, they go after restrooms, because they do know that restrooms belong to the business, and anything outside, a lot of times it's with the landlord. So they're very particular. A lot of times they'll, you know, go after the landlord first, because, you know, that's obviously where the deeper pockets are. But, you know, a lot of times if they hit up small mom and pop businesses with restaurants and things like that, I mean, these are the little things that they go for. So just make sure that you guys go over all these little small details, and I'll try to list them down in the comments below, but I don't know, I hope this helps. Yeah, so as you can see here, we already got rid of the original blue line, and what we're gonna do is go ahead and move it over and just extend it over here, and that'll meet the 9 feet requirement from this line over to this one here, which we're going to extend to here. So after this one, we definitely should be good. So I wanted to give you a brief history on how this complaint or lawsuit came about. So several months ago, this gentleman in a truck comes by to the gas station and parks in front of the pump, but in front of the window to where, you know, my employee behind the register could clearly see him. And I guess he honked his horn and he started waving his handicap placard, which is typically what is done to get the attention of an employee so they could come out and help him. But mind you that, you know, my gas station, I only have one employee at all times, with the exception of weekdays for 4 hours in the morning. So she had customers in line and just told him to wait, but I guess he just became, you know, upset that she didn't drop everything she was doing and came running outside to help pump his gas. So another gentleman who was in line, a different customer, offered to pump gas for him. So long story short, this gentleman files a complaint directly to Shell, and Shell reaches out to me because it's an ADA compliance or an ADA issue. So they wanted me to basically take care of it with the customer and basically, you know, let them know what the outcome was. So I had my manager reach out to him and basically kind of get the story of what had happened. So very confrontational, and basically said that he demanded $50 and an apology from the employee. So, I mean, the apology, that was a given. I mean, if my employee, and mind you that per the federal law, if you only have one employee working at the time, you know, we're not required to actually go out and pump gas for you. So the only time where an employee is mandated is when your gas pumps aren't ADA compliance, meaning that they might be a certain height. They're too far off the ground, and, you know, obviously a person with a disability wouldn't be able to reach. In cases like that, I guess there are stations out there that aren't, their pumps aren't ADA certified, so yes, they would be mandated to go out there and help. But in my case, all my pumps are in compliance, and I only had one employee working at the time. So I instructed my manager basically just to tell him, you know, fully apologize for what had happened, but the $50, we really can't do anything. So he pretty much basically threatened us and said that if we don't give him $50, he's gonna go get a lawyer and sue us. So, I mean, long story short, you know, I stuck to my guns, and, you know, I just refused to give up $50 because I just didn't want to set a precedent. And, you know, if word gets out that, hey, go ahead, head over to this business, and then just basically extort them for how much ever money that you want. So, which brings us here, and just last week I get a response from the plaintiff's attorney stating that he wants $28,000 in damages, claiming that he came 2 times and was not able to use the facilities. One, on the first one, was that he wasn't able to, or my employee didn't pump gas for him, so I do have a legitimate argument. So in that first case. In the second case, he didn't come himself, but the attorney's office, a lot of times they'll basically send their spotters or out, and they'll come and start, you know, looking at other little violations that they can find out. So the law office went ahead and sent another person out because we had never seen the guy again after that. So the second issue, or the second complaint, was that of the restroom. So just that we didn't have the padding underneath the sink, and that I believe there was no toilet paper in at the time. So basically it comes down to the federal law and the statutes. Everything comes with the, I guess you could say, with the fine or a penalty. So government basically put into effect that in each instance that a disabled person is not able to use the facilities because they are hindered from physical barriers or things of that nature, each occurrence can constitute a $4,000 fine. So a lot of times what people will do is they'll state that they came, you know, day after day, repeatedly, or even a week after. But what kind of sucks is that you would think that, okay, if you come a first time, if someone truly was disabled and felt that, you know, they weren't able to use the facilities, then you would think that they would actually complain to a manager or bring it up to the business. But, you know, usually isn't the case. So a lot of the times they will file a lawsuit when they can try to catch you on a second violation within, even within a month, time frame. And this, in my particular case, I believe it was within a month. So it's kind of one of those things where if you know a business is in violation or not fully compliant, then how are you going to go back 2 weeks later and basically try to hit them for the same issue? So that's where we're at right now. Looking at a $28,000 demand from this plaintiff, but obviously which I'm not going to pay. So as you can see from what I pointed out, there are a bunch of little minor things that obviously his lawyer didn't bring up in the complaint, but I went ahead and spent my own money for a CASP inspection so I could find out every little thing that was wrong, so I could bring it up to code and basically be compliant with the ADA. After taking care of that, what a CASP inspector will give you is a certificate of compliance. Basically, you could just put that thing in your storefront window, and anybody coming by trying to sue you, any lawyers that like to do these little drive-by lawsuits will look at that and they'll think twice before even trying to come your way, because they already know that you've already fully complied in order to get one of those certificates. So that's kind of brings me to where if I regret not giving this guy $50 and calling it a day, but who knows, the guy could have taken $50 and sent one of his buddies, or even he could have done it again. But I mean, it was worth the money to get the CASP inspection done so I could fix every little thing that was wrong. And I mean, as you can see, it's a matter of moving a toilet 3/4 of an inch closer to a wall, or moving a blue line over a couple of inches, and it's literally stuff like that. There's nothing major. But I mean, I know when the lawmakers put this ADA law into effect, it wasn't meant for instances like this to where people could just fully take advantage of the law and just file a bunch of lawsuits. Funny fact is that California makes up 40% of all the ADA lawsuits that are filed in the United States. So go figure, right? So the word is that the federal courts, they're just getting tired of all these cases because there's so many of them being filed, and a lot of people don't follow through. And in my case, I was actually tempted to just just let it go. Let's see if these guys go go to lengths, go through all the motions, and go to all the court proceedings to see if if I'll answer back. So I guess my best advice to you is that, yeah, you can approach something like this on your own, but I mean, I retained my attorney for $1,500, and they basically do all the paperwork and file everything for you and answer to the initial complaint. But in my particular case, I mean, I'm still debating whether I'm going to settle with this guy, because word has it that, I mean, typically for $4,000, couple $1,000s, you could settle out of court, or else you'll end up paying more in lawyer fees and roll the dice as far as potentially losing in court. But in my case, I mean, what I have going for me is the fact that the guy pretty much basically tried to extort me for $50, and because I didn't pay, he went ahead and retaliated and pursued legal action. But a lot of the stuff, I mean, if you bring everything up to speed, up to code, I mean, like how I mentioned before, you have a $4,000 each occurrence potential fine. If you fix everything within 30 days, that $4,000 will go down to $1,000. So if I take all of this to court and show to the court that I fixed everything and complied within 30 days, I mean, the worst case scenario I owe this guy is $1,000. So, I mean, I'm really just bummed out that, I mean, you always hear about people just winning all kinds of crazy settlements and stuff like that. And I mean, in legitimate cases where people are just either discriminated against or truly injured, I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, people do need to watch out and protect themselves and stuff like that. But in a case like this where someone's clearly just out to make a few bucks, and especially the lawyers, I mean, there's lawyers out there that just specialize in just ADA law, and they just go around suing small businesses, knowing that a lot of the times they're going to want to settle out of court because they just don't want to go through the hassle of going through lengthy court proceedings and looking at the big potential judgment that where you lose. It can be in the tens, 20s, 30s of thousands of dollars. So they think for an easy $4,000 that you just settle out. So I'm still on the fence whether I'm going to settle or if I'm going to fight this one, but I guess down the line I'll make another video and kind of bring you guys up to speed. So all in all, that's the reason why I haven't really posted any videos about the cars and stuff, but you know, I'll definitely try to get something out there soon. All right, so thanks for watching. Please subscribe and see you guys soon.